You obviously, as a minor hockey player, and I'm talking when you were a child, and then as a junior and whatnot, and then into the professional ranks, you were closeted, right? Like you didn't talk about it when you were young.
Yeah, I actually took it a step further. I suppressed it completely. And beyond that, I adhered to the stereotypes and tropes of the culture. I'm ashamed to admit today, but I was a womanizing hockey bro. I acted cocky. I walked into a room like I was a gift to, and like I owned it. And people around me thought I had this incredible life. They didn't know I'd go home to my billet's house when I was in the OHL and I'd cry. I hated myself, frankly. I didn't know if I wanted to live. And I self-harmed and struggled immensely.
Now you're talking to high school age students, I think, in your teams, right?
Yes.
In your tour. And I would think they would be fairly receptive. Is that the truth? But is there still some aspect of homophobia in that group?
There's been a few instances where parents have said they don't want to subject their children to this without even knowing my message or hearing me, because all I talk about it really is like I even tell them I can't control if you're anti-LGBTQ plus or not, and frankly, it's none of my business.
Right.
That's on them to follow their moral compass, but it's more about creating welcoming environments for them as much as anyone else, and breaking conformity in the culture so people can fully be themselves. There's there's four things you can talk about in a men's or boys' locker room: women, video games, partying, sports. And yet they call themselves families,
Right.
or brothers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, my family knows more about me than that. And when we break that down and people start to share things they don't traditionally share and recognize that they're all different, they're all weirdos, they're going to be less likely to judge somebody else for their weirdness. And that's the whole goal. So I think the kids today are more receptive because they've been exposed to so much more. In thought, in theory, they're far more inclusive. That said, their language, behaviors, attitudes don't necessarily match their thoughts currently, and they still conform fully to this culture. I mean, I can pick out a hockey player anywhere I go, school, a mall, you name it. They dress the same, talk the same, walk the same because they spend so much time in that bubble.
Mm-hmm. Even today, when I play with some of the old timers, guys will say things, and you kind of step back and say, should I say something here or should I not? And that's a decision people have to make when they're in that situation. What kind of feedback do you get from people about that?
I think people really struggle with what you're saying is whether they should say something or not. And I think how we do it matters. Like if you're looking at a buddy and you just started shouting at them or calling them a bigot or whatever, I don't think we're going to get through to people. I think we're going to create barriers of communication. Whereas if we engage with them and go, and humanize it, they probably know somebody who's LGBTQ plus, whether it's, a family member, a friend, a friend's child, etc. And would you want to perpetuate negativity towards them? And when they realize impact and how that impacts people, I think they're going to critically think about their words and be more receptive to evolving.
How much of a difference do you think you're making?
I mean, from the messages I get from parents, I had one parent reach out in BC and say that her son's friend came over and I had spoken to his team and that he told her that I changed the way he saw the world and changed his life. That said, I don't see the impact every day. There's
Right.
some days I really do, and some days I'm able to help people who are on the brink of, self-harm, suicide, or death and get them help. And that's pretty rewarding. But day to day, I don't really see the impact necessarily. I know it's there, but I never feel like I'm doing enough.